Senator Hirono.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, there was a time when there was bipartisan agreement that our immigration system is broken, and in fact, in 2013, we actually worked on a bipartisan immigration bill that passed the Senate. So perhaps we'll be able to get there, but obviously that's not where we are now. I have a question for Dr. Mejia. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly.
Yeah.
Your hard work and dedication to emergency medicine is impressive, and yes, you are one of the some 800,000 DACA participants, one of the exemplary people in the DACA program. But you don't have to be exemplary in order to get the protections that DACA affords. These are hundreds of thousands of people who were brought to this country as children who just want to have a chance at a good life in our country. But in the meantime, Dr. Mejia, you talked about what DACA meant to you. If the DACA program wasn't created, what do you imagine your life would be like right now?
Sure. Thank you for your question, Senator. DACA was a major life changer for me. Particularly, it allowed me to fund my education and fund my medical school degree to a degree that was not possible beforehand. If DACA was never implemented, I'm not exactly sure what my life would look like right now. All I can say is that whatever I had chosen to pursue, that I would have done a good job at it and done well at it and continue to contribute to the American society in whatever capacity I would be allowed to. Certainly, I think that becoming a doctor would have been close to impossible without DACA. And then even downstream, there's no way that I would have been employed as a doctor without DACA, even if I had been able to get a medical degree.
And of course, you would have faced deportation.
Of course.
Especially after the DACA program was summarily ended. There were hundreds of thousands of you who faced deportation. This is for Mr. Ponthieu. The Trump administration tried to end the TPS designation for Haiti during declaring the country safe for people to return, despite it being declared a level 4 do not travel country by the State Department. Just last month, the Secretary Mayorkas announced a new 18-month TPS designation for Haiti due to serious security concerns, social unrest, an increase in human rights abuses, crippling poverty, and lack of basic resources, which are exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. What would have happened to you, to your family, had you been forced to return to Haiti?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I appreciate that. And this is the situation. I've been here for 22 years, and I've built a life here. I have 2 US-born children that never know Haiti. My daughter is with me. She's always with me, coming to Washington, D.C., and she never know Haiti. And you know the situation in Haiti, the country is in shambles, and there's no way I can go back to Haiti with my kids to have a life. So in order for me to be here for them, like my daughter wants to become a lawyer, so she will need me to help her, to guide her, because if I go back to Haiti, it's going to be a disaster. So with the renewal of the TPS, that helped me to take care of my children, to take care of myself, my children, my family, and to continue to serve the community, to work as a nurse, as a healthcare provider, to save lives.
And clearly this 18-month extension is critical to you and your family. For Mr. Rodriguez, last week the U.S. Supreme Court held in Sanchez v. Mayorkas that TPS recipients who enter the country without inspection are generally not eligible to adjust status to a lawful permanent resident. This decision resolved a circuit court split, which means that TPS holders who are in this situation across the nation will not be able to adjust their status. H.R. 6 addresses this issue and will allow TPS holders to use existing pathways to citizenship. And of course, the process itself of going through and getting TPS status, even if they did not go through that process upon entry into our country, in my opinion, should have enabled them to be able to get citizenship. But some argue that TPS was always meant to be temporary. Can you talk about why it's important to give these TPS holders a path to a permanent status?
I think as I mentioned in my written testimony, many TPS recipients, when they first requested TPS, never imagined that the conditions that would enable them to return safely to their country would not come to pass, that years and years would pass before that was a realistic possibility. In that time, careers have been launched, families have been built, homes have been bought, contributions have been made to our economy. Very similar to the Dreamers, they are now part of the fabric of our society. And so I do believe that it makes sense. And I don't think, by the way, that the few circuits that were permitting adjustment based on TPS ended up having that much impact, because you still had to be qualified for a green card, either through marriage or through some other path. So there really weren't that many people who were able to take advantage of that construct. So I do think that what this bill is doing with TPS recipients is necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kennedy.